in Parliament yesterday and were rather confused. Is this really the independent Republic of Ghana that they are talking about? Listen for yourself.
Ghana is currently faced with an unprecedented threat to our forest resources and water bodies due largely to illegal small-scale mining activity. This situation has assumed crisis proportions with their national security and public health consequences that require immediate attention. Honourable Speaker, it will interest you to note that out of the 288 forest reserves that I have mentioned, a whopping 44 of these forest reserves are under serious attack by illegal miners, and an estimated area of over 5,000 hectares has been devastated. And to put it particularly, about 7,000 standard football fields is what I'm talking about that has been devastated. Over 9 out of the 44 forest reserves, and Mr. Speaker, this is very important, over 9 out of the 44 forest reserves have been completely taken over by these illegal mining tasks with impunity. And the Forestry Commission no longer have access to these forest reserves. In the short term, Mr. Speaker, we want to clear our water bodies from illegal mining activities through the use of river gas under our Blue Water Initiative. Details of this initiative will be provided during the launch of this initiative in the coming weeks. 2. Engagement of stakeholders at all levels. Among other things, the intention is to strengthen our regulatory and law enforcement regime. We'll talk about the numbers. In the last few years, the numbers for prosecution for illegal mining is not very encouraging. Out of over 800, the number we had for people who have been prosecuted was less than 40. Mr. Speaker, the impact of illegal mining on our water bodies, which is the second phase, is critical and equally alarming. Among the 3 water basin systems in Ghana, which is the Volta, Southwestern, and the Coastal Western Basin systems, the Southwestern Basin system is most impacted. The rivers that form the Southwestern Basins are the Ankobra, the Pra, which is made out of Fame, Brim, and Odan, and the Tano and Bia. According to the Ghana Water Company, the normal turbidity levels for water under treatment should not exceed 500 NTU. However, the current turbidity levels of these water systems are between 5,000 and 12,000 NTU. The Ghana Water Company has had to shut down some treatment plants in Takwa at a point due to overpollution from Galamsey. Mr. Speaker, the pollution does not end with turbidity. These water bodies are also contaminated with toxic chemicals such as cyanide, mercury, hydrocarbons, and used recklessly by these illegal miners. This is utterly unacceptable. We cannot afford to reach a point where access to clean potable water becomes a daily struggle for citizens. Mr. Speaker, this is the grim reality of the state of our forest reserves and our water bodies. This is indeed what we have inherited. It is a legacy of environmental degradation that we must confront head-on as part of His Excellency President Mahama's Reset Ghana agenda.
I see the problem as a crisis of law and order. Why do I say it's a crisis of law and order? The Minerals and Mining Law has very beautiful provisions that if we just followed it and implemented it, it will deal significantly with the problem. What are the provisions, Mr. Speaker? 1, people realize that there's gold somewhere, they will go and dig. No matter what you do, it's not just Ghana, anywhere in the world. When people hear that there is gold anywhere, whether it is in America or Australia or in Europe or in South Africa, Mr. Speaker, if we hear that there is gold beneath this chamber, by the time you go back and come back tomorrow morning, you will see some people who will come and find ways and means of digging underneath this chamber to extract the gold. That is gold for you. And that is how gold has attracted people over the period in history. So you cannot stop gold mining. You cannot. What you should do is to legalize gold mining. So the Minerals and Mining Law says that the minister, is that okay? When he identifies an area that could become a small-scale gold mining site, he should so designate it as a small-scale gold mining site. When he designates it as a small-scale gold mining site, it gives the regulatory authorities the powers to now intervene. When I went to the illegal gold mining sites, I noticed, and I was the Minister for Environment, and I went there, and I didn't see my EPA officers. EPA officers were not there. When I asked them, why are you not here helping them to do it properly? They said, because it's an illegal activity, we at EPA cannot come and be supervising them. So when the minister designates it as a small-scale mining area, then the EPA will now be able to move in and also provide them with technical support as to how to do it properly.
It's going to be easy. It requires a serious hand with a tough skin to go after these illegal activities. Mr. Speaker, Kofi, you'll be tempted. Your colleagues will be involved, both sides. They will come to you to plead with you. Nole prosequa you'll be tempted with it. Having gone after people, you talked about only 40 people being prosecuted. Yes, the courts are there to protect the liberty of the individual. Majority leader will tell you it takes a long time to convict an individual. It's part of our criminal jurisprudence, Mr. Speaker. So if you've come here to read this beautiful statement, we'll be watching the space for the implementation, because you are talking about decentralizing illegal mining, setting up small, medium, and large scale. I've read it. But your own members, both sides, will come to you, Kofi, to ask for favors. You have to take a very strong step on suspending the issuance of licensing. Make sure that the proper demarcations are made. Make sure you visit almost all the sites. We are talking about over 3,000 illegal mining sites. How are you going to patrol it? You don't have the technology. We will be listening to the minister on the 10th of March on your budget. We'll be looking at the budget lines to support you in this fight. And we don't want you to come here for your ministry's budget approval and say that, oh, we requested for $500 million, we've been giving 100 million. We'll be listening to you.
I believe that henceforth, when they get the recommendation, you should insist that that should be the committee or the body issuing these licenses. And then Accra can then top it up. Because if we don't do that, there's not going to be any community ownership. And even the fight itself also has to be owned by the community and the district. Otherwise, we are going to have a big challenge in fighting it. Because that has been our method of fighting everything from Accra. In fact, by the time soldiers even move into the district, I mean, the Galamseyers, they have been reformed and they ran away. In fact, when we were fighting it in those days, when we go in the morning, they are not there. In the afternoon, they are not there. When you go back the next morning, you realize that they are come to do operations in the night. And this is very difficult for our agencies to be able to stop them. Going forward, he has also made mention of the river gas. And I believe that is a good thing. In fact, we trained a lot of river gas. We only deployed them for a few periods because of morality issues. Because along the line, what we realized was that those fighting Galamsey, from the police to the army to immigration, along the line, it became a different story altogether. So I believe that now that we have digitalization, I'm concluding, Mr. Speaker. Now that we have digitalization, it is important if we can do and implement and invest in solar CCTV cameras along the rivers.
coffee in your cup, and Joy on the set, the Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
All right. So you first heard from Emmanuel Kofi-Boah, who is the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. He's also the Member of Parliament for Elembele. Then you heard from Mahama Yarga, who's the Majority Leader. And then that was followed by the MP for Okai-Kwe Central, Patrick Boama. Now, to summarize, the minister says we've lost 9 out of the 44 forest reserves. We've lost them because they've been taken over by illegal miners. Forestry Commission cannot enter these forest reserves. Then we heard from Mahama Ayariga, who said this is a law enforcement problem, law and order problem. Then we heard from Patrick Yabwama, whose submission is that, well, your own members will be involved. They will all come to you and seek favors. So as lands minister, he was advising Emmanuel Kofi-Boah to be firm. And then the last person you heard there was Mr. Ochiridaku Mensah, who is Member of Parliament for Takrady. And he is suggesting CCTV along the river bodies. That's what happened in Parliament. Let's talk to the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Ken Ashigbe. Senior, good morning to you.
No, I can't help but laugh. I can't help but laugh.
I'll be honest, there is no question I have for you that I can ask with a straight face. So just tell us your impressions of yesterday.
Kojo, is it for nothing that the Media Coalition had asked for a state of emergency? If you have a government entity coming to tell us the problem, the minister has been in office for how long? But before he was in office, in August, all of us were pushing for this. The NDC, when they were in opposition, supported the state of emergency. And the minister has been here, and now he comes to Parliament to come and tell us the problem. The reason why we're telling you to institute a state of emergency on our water bodies, the buffers, and the forest reserve was exactly because we knew that the illegal miners had taken over some of the forests. And this morning you mentioned it again. Some of the water bodies as well, our water commission also cannot go there. So if you have a country in which the legitimate authority of this country are not able to access part of our geographical space, is that not a war that has been declared on us by these illegal miners? And if war is declared on us by illegal miners, how do we respond to it? So for me, it is this statement that has been made is so disappointing. And then again, one of the things that caused the loss of the fight was the fact that the firefighters themselves have become the arsonists. We heard the Speaker of Parliament say it in the last Parliament, that some of them in Parliament were involved in the illegality as we see. And you saw the MP for Okai-Kwe also talk about the fact people from both sides, so they themselves who are supposed to be parliamentary are part of the criminals. They are part of the people who will go and ask for the lawly prosecution. So if His Excellency wants to win this war, the first thing he has to do is not to be like Nana Akufo-Addo, who in Kofodia told me in the face that Akonta mining was not involved in illegality as we spoke. He needs to start dealing very toughly with those who are around him. And we know that the transitions has happened. In 2016, 2017, the criminals in the NDC, transition to the criminals in the NPP. And now it has happened again. From December last year up till now, we saw the transition happen. And currently, there is an allegation against a certain MP for our win, for being involved in an illegal mining that we are currently with the IGP and the team trying to unravel. And if this one, it would require the president to demonstrate leadership, to say that you, this particular MP, this is involved, I am going to ask that this action be taken and be investigated. We have written to the president, we have written to the Speaker of Parliament, and the IGP has responded. I want to believe that the Speaker of Parliament and the President might have spoken to the IGP to take action on it. But it is important, as has been said by they themselves in Parliament, that they need to deal with the governance issue. Because they themselves, those of them in governance, are part of the criminal gang who are involved in this. And the reason why they go asking the minister for favor. So it is really important that if we want to deal with this issue, we deal with the law enforcement part of it. First, as we then also the issues about the gold board that is meeting, the committee that has been set up, that we know the problem. So this is not the time to try asking what the problem is. It is about dealing with it. So that's why I get so disappointed when the minister for the Assembly regional minister decides that criminals should be given 2 weeks to continue their criminal action and then also be given time to take out the evidence of their criminal activity. That is the height of irresponsibility. The people who we know are engaged in an illegal activity, we will deal with it. So I think it is important at this stage that instead of all the talk, we should be told about things that have happened, resolved. The NDC was in opposition. When some of them said they were going to take private members' bill to Parliament to repeal that obnoxious law, LI 2462. What has happened? That we've been in power for over a month and nothing has happened to that particular obnoxious law. So I think enough of the talk. The same way that we dealt with oral, that we dealt with corruption by getting oral in, the same way we dealt with the issue of SHS when there was no food in, the same way we dealt with the energy crisis that was imminent, is the same way that we should be dealing with the issues around illegal mining. And so the minister should stop telling us the problems that we have known ages ago and start dealing with the root causes of it. And the root causes first is within. And you see, those in the political class who are involved in this, how is it that Akonta mining, as we see, the IGP has a petition before him on Akonta mining, how is it that we declared the former Minister for Finance as a fugitive of justice, and Albert Nchibwe is still walking free and has not been dragged to court? So the same attitude that we should use in dealing with the issues of Galamsey, with corruption and all of that, is the same thing we should be attaching to the issues of Galamsey. And so, are you surprised that the minister, an MP will tell us that both sides are involved in it? That particular is a confession of the reason why we are not able to deal with the issues of Galamsey. So yes, all the other conversations they are taking are fine, but if we don't deal with the governance issues, if we don't deal with the law enforcement issues, we will not be able to get to the bottom of them.
In your estimation, having heard him in Parliament, is the lands minister capable of dealing with Galamsey?
Could you ask the account to see what's the if you follow the account? Unfortunately for me, I am not seeing the initial steps that have to be taken. You see, because if you have your child who is bleeding, and then you are a doctor who is handling that particular case, and the doctor states, the first thing you want to see is that somebody who is stemming, the bleeding. But I've not seen that happen. And so for me, I think the minister needs to be a lot more forceful than he's been. He should not be he should have come to us to say that there are 9 forest reserves that have been taken over by the criminals, and I have immediately set the military in, we have taken it, and we have freed the tree. But he cannot come and be telling us, like the same way that I can attach who does not have the executive power of government, it would also be regurgitated. So, unfortunately for him, he's not started well. But fortunately, he has another, almost 4 years to go. So he can recover as quickly as possible and make sure that we need to start seeing action. The fight against Galamsey cannot be fought with talk, cannot be fought with meetings, stakeholders, and all of that. They know, the Speaker of Parliament is not changed. They said it in the last Parliament that they know the people who are involved in Galamsey, including some people who are MPs from both sides. And so they need to start going after them. And I've given two tasks that they need to do. The issue of Akonta mining, the issue of the Awen MP, for example. Because what we need to do is to start signaling that You know, the thing that in the past government that we're doing, that because you are in power, because you are in the Jubilee House, because you are close to power, you could do this illegally, or because you are even in Parliament, and you know, because it's your colleagues, you could be allowed. We need to signal that that will stop. And when we start hitting the big boys hard, and then the president said it when he's on opposition. What was the reason why he said that when he came into power, those who had been jailed, he was going to give them amnesty because we're not going after the big boys. So how is it that the president has been in power and the big boys that are there? And a typical example is Akontamani. Another one is Heritage in Priya. How is it that these people they are not going after them? Again, Professor Fumbo Martin's report, the names that are replete in that report. How is it that we not even heard that any of these people have been invited by the police, you know, to aid in investigation?
Now, the Member of Parliament for Okaikwe advises that the minister should be very frugal in the granting of licenses. But at this point, where illegal miners have taken over a forest, it seems to be a matter beyond licensing, doesn't it? Do you agree with Mahama Yaraga's assessment that it's a law and order problem?
So again, we all know that it is the fact that we do not have the temerity and the courage wanting to be able to implement the laws. It is not from an absence of the laws. We in 2019 we amended the Minerals and Mining Act and made the punishment more punitive. The challenge is about they deciding that they want to be able to deal with it. So I would agree with the majority leader that they have the laws and they have the elements to be able to let order. It is the fact that they, the political class, because they are benefiting from, you know, the fruits of Galamsey, are deciding not to deal with it. And that is confirmed by what the MP for Kaikwe Central said, that both sides will come asking for favor. They have been asking favors. They have been asking favors of the former minister. They are asking favors of the current minister. That is the reason why we're not able to deal with it. How is it that, you know, the MP for Awin talks about the fact that he knows that some of the people who are in there are from his party, and the fact that some people are standing and they also have the right to be able to do it, and nobody is dealing with all of these issues. You know, so yes, we know that it's a law and order issue, but the laws exist, the regulations exist, and we also know it is for the lack of the will to be able to crack the whip. And we see that, we plead. When Otunfo decides that some chiefs were involved in it, and he decided to take off their shoes, how is it that we are not able to deal with our own when these things are happening?
Now, there was a suggestion from the Takrady MP about CCTV along the water bodies.
Please, please. I'm not too sure we should waste our ear on that particular one. And again, one of you made a very good point. Currently, there is satellite footage that exists that would be able to tell you real time the activities that are happening in these places. Again, Galamsey is not done with mobile phones that people can hide in their pocket. There are CCTVs that are along most of our roads, so you'll be able to track, you know, these excavators that are moving on the roads. And so, if you marry all the data that exists, that the government will have the resources to be able to get. You don't need to go and put solar CCTVs that people can come and take away. You have satellite footage. And what stops us from getting our Air Force to fly sorties over these places? What stops us to get our navies to get into the water bodies to be able to go and deal with it? I hear the issue about the fact that you go during the day and then at night the people come. When we started Operation Vanguard and the media coalition was fighting this, one of the things that the military asked was for the night vision equipment. And so what prevented us to be able to provide night vision equipment for the military? So are we saying that if terrorists come attacking us at night, we will not be able to defend ourselves as a country? No! I am telling you that if you give the army the power, the military the power to be able to deal with these criminals at night, and you are using the CCTVs that you have, with all, in all the roads and all of that, and coordinating it. If you also were dealing with the issues of the fact that we're going to track these excavators. And already I can tell you that the School of Mines had done a pilot where now they are able to track, they are able to geoblock, they are able to stop these excavators. The only thing that has, and they have built a control center, the only thing that has not happened is that they have not scaled the thing right. Why have they not scaled it? If they scale it, it will affect their own businesses that they are doing in the illegal mining. So the solutions exist. The reasons why we are not doing it, and it is not going to fix some solar CCTVs that is going to solve the problem. There are CCTVs already on all our road that will be able to tell. There's satellite imagery that you'll be able to get to be able to tell the activities that are going on. And if you decide, you could get some drones. And again, we invested money in drones. What has happened to the drones? Are the drones not fitted with night vision goggles to be able to see the things that are happening? You know, the technology exists. The digital technologies exist to be able to deal with this thing. And so nobody should come telling us, you know, these things about what CCTV at this particular time. The technology exists to already be able to deal with it. Do we have the willingness to be able to deal with it? That's what I believe that's a refreshing change we're beginning to see in this person. And I'm praying that he adds that to the fight against Galamsey. I have not seen him to be as forceful as he's done in some of the things that he's done so far as Galamsey is concerned. And his minister needs to support that and be able to ensure that these things are happening. He gave some marching orders to the Minister for Interior, the Minister for the Attorney General. We're not seeing all of those things also happen. What have happened to those marching orders that were given to them? We know what we can. We know what we have to do. That one, go back and look into even their manifestos. It's in there. And as much as they were not very forceful on the law enforcement side, but the things that we have to do, we all know what that ought to be done. The thing about it is that both parties were benefiting from the ills of Galamsey. And so it's the reason why sometimes they are not able to deal with it. But as civil society, as citizens, we should make sure that we do not allow what we saw in the last 8 years to continue. The genocide has to stop. And if the genocide is going to stop, it will require all of us to really step up and say we are being killed. It has to stop. We need to all add our voices to this to make sure that this Galamsey issue is dealt with.
The scientists started warning us decades ago. In 2019, Professor Ensua Mensah of CSIR, in her inaugural lecture, said that we were on the verge of ecological suicide. Now it looks like it's happened. Mr. Ashigbe, is there hope?
Once you and I are talking today, for me there is hope. Unfortunately for us, we really got to calm down. You know, the issues of genocide, the issues of ecocide are really with us. Before, I think in 2017, thereabout, the CSIR reports team, they had gone to one of these areas to do some research. And so they bought bread at the side of the road. When they came and they tested the level of toxicity in that bread, there are situations that we have babies that are born with 4 legs and 2 hands, and without genitalia, they die. And then the level of toxicity in their marrow when the tests are done. Now, how many people have not died out of this Galamsey pit? Renal diseases that are on the increase. Unfortunately, it is only in our country. It doesn't look like the Ghanaian blood markers. Because in other situations, by this time, the way all of us will be up in arms against the deaths that are being recorded. So yes, unfortunately, it's a dire situation. Unfortunately, people have died. There's a woman whose only crime was the fact that she was born in Konongo, woke up, went to nature's call, then there was an implosion, and she died. All of these deaths have been recorded because of this illegal and irresponsible mining. But unfortunately, those who have put in power to be able to act are not acting. They didn't act in the past. And unfortunately, we've not begun again to be able to deal with it. So it is important that we signal to all of us the same way that the NDC, the revulsion that the NDC had against Galamsey when they were in the position. We are not seeing that happen. And unfortunately, Ghanaians, you are also going back to sleep again. And I can tell you that between the 7th of January and today, the number of Ghanaians that have died out of Galamsey, the number of Ghanaians that have been affected by renal disease out of Galamsey, you don't count it. You are sitting, you are all sitting pretty and allowing these things to happen. You even have a minister who says they should give him 2 weeks to continue doing their committing their
Yes,
crime.
but
So
that minister, for instance, I mean, the Ashanti regional minister, he gave these illegal miners 2 weeks. We haven't heard anything again. Yesterday, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in Parliament explaining problems. Not much action. Of course, we're going to deal with them and end of story. At this point in time, you've called on the president. Should the president consider a change in the personnel tasked with fighting this menace?
Well, Winston, I would say that it's just been a month that they're in power. I would urge that we give them the benefit of that doubt. But the president needs to read the letter that the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey sent to him. The president should read the text of the pact that he signed with us. And he needs to realize the fact that, unfortunately, in that area, he's not acting the way he ought to act. The agency that we are seeing in other places, we are not seeing the agency here. In the issues of Galamsey, it is not, when it came to corruption, the president did not form a committee to start coming up with a roadmap to form Oral. Oral was formed immediately. So in terms of the issues of Galamsey and its issues, we should have a team that immediately are working on dealing with these 9 forest reserves that have been taken, the water bodies that still have some funds on them. We need to see this. By this time, the LI should have been revoked. So I think the president should be calling Honorable Kofi Buah into the flat Jubilee House and telling him that what you're doing, please, this is not what I promised. This is not the things that I said I was going to do. We need a lot more action rather than just talk. It is not the place of the minister to come and tell us things that we know already, that 9 forest reserves have been overtaken, and what is it that he has done about it since he took office. And that the Ashanti regional minister, he should be told. That's not leadership. Leadership does not allow his children to be raped for another 2 weeks before he deals with them. He deals with them immediately and comes to tell us that these are the things that I have done about it.
Ken Ashigbe, convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, we thank you very much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you.